teams were putting out their quarter century teams. The Rangers and Islanders both released their quarter century team. Anthony, we'll start with you. Any omissions that you kind of find glaring?
I mean, we talked about this for a little bit in our group chat. I mean, Oposo was an omission, but I mean, it's nothing that I'm gonna sit there and say is a huge omission. I mean, you look at Bailey. Yeah, Bailey was an Islander his whole career. Oposo left. I mean, I know Nielsen did too, but Oposo obviously had a good career as an Islander. I believe his career high in points was with the Islanders. You know, he was part of that group that ended the 23-year drought with the playoffs, with getting past the first round. Aside from him, you know, we talked a little bit about defense. I know you mentioned Adrian Aucoin, Roman Hamrlik, but Pelech and Polak had their kind of had their breakout.
That was me.
Their breakouts and the Barry Trotz, so I get why they're there. You know, for a while there, they were viewed as one of the better shutdown pairs in the league. You know, Nick Leddy was part of the trade with him and Boychuk on the same day. You know, Leddy kind of stabilized their defense when he got there, so I get why he's there. You know, and obviously Kenny Janssen was an Islander captain. He was beloved. He spent a lot of years there on a dreadful team. You know, but was always representing the Islander crest well. So, I don't think there's anything wrong or glaring with this missing from this Islander group. Like I said, maybe you could put Oposo on there, but other than that, I mean, that's really about it.
I tried to argue this one. I tried to get Adrian Aucoin on there. 2 years, he was a top 10 Norris Trophy candidate. That's it. I think everybody else is bang on.
I mean, I get it, but you're gonna look back at this team and you're gonna say, when was this team the most successful in this last quarter century? And you know, Adam Pelech and Ryan Pollock were both a big part of that, as well as Nick Leddy. So that's why those guys are there. Kenny Janssen was an Islander captain, albeit not a good one, and for a very brief point of time. In a time where the club was in turmoil, if you will. I could have argued Hamrlik over Kenny Janssen there. That's the one thing that I would say on defense is I think Hamrlik was a more effective defenseman than Janssen at that time. I think Janssen after the Gary Roberts hit was not the same.
Yeah.
He was not the same after that.
And, you know, I can get on board with you there. I think the reason why they put Janssen and I got Hamrlik is the longevity. Janssen was an Islander for a lot longer than
But then again, look at it. Like, they were almost the same amount of time in that quarter century era.
There you go.
That's my qualm.
Yeah.
And that's why I argue for Adrian Aucoin, who had 1 year less than Kenny Janssen, whose career was done after 2004. And we're not killing him for the longevity. But again, I was at the game when Gary Roberts tried to put Kenny Janssen into the fourth row.
He literally just wanted to put his head through the glass. And
how
that's not up there in the ranks of the dirtiest hits ever. That's probably thanks to the Canadian media, but that's one of the dirtiest hits I've ever seen.
I think if there was which Joey said the same thing up here, curious if there was a third team. If there was, I think then those guys, like if there was a third team, I think you would have saw Poso. I think maybe you would have saw Boychuk.
I'd say Boychuk and Hamrlik would be mine.
So, third team, I think you might have seen some of those names.
But going over to the Rangers, Philk, I reacted to this, Philk, and said the disrespect to Rick Nash right here.
You could take maybe Zuccarello and replace him with Nash. Maybe that's what you do, because Nash was a better player at his peak. There were some highs and lows, but Nash won a gold medal with Team Canada in 2014. I'll never forget the start of that season and the hurdle game and how Brad Stewart basically knocked him out of that game, and he missed a bunch of time. He probably would have scored about 35 goals that year had he not missed, I think, 17 games that year it was. That's the one guy I would say. Jágr, although he played parts of only 4 seasons, he had 2 of the best seasons in Rangers history, including the best season in Rangers history. So you're going to put him on there even though he played only 4 years. I get Panarin being on there. Panarin had the second best season in Rangers history, the only other player to hit 120. Kreider almost broke the goals record, or almost tied the goals record. I mean, he tied Adam Graves for the second highest mark. Adam Fox is a given. Ryan McDonough is a given. Henrik Lundqvist is a given. Everybody else really is kind of a given. Yager wanted to go back to the KHL. There was more involved in that, Johnny. More involved.
I think Nash is the only guy that maybe you could have made a case for somewhere.
Nash is the only one, if you ask.
Yeah.
The only one. So
your ideas are intriguing to me, and I wish to subscribe to your newsletter.